Hi there, this is Douglas Robinson, and in this video we have two different kind of things that I want to show, and one of them is going to be a really neat thing that I just learned on SQL off of Stack Overflow, because, I don't invent these things. They exist, I just find them. And then the other thing is we're going to be working on a map today. So today we're going to be working on a map. This is going to be it's based off of something I saw on the community site. Essentially, someone was asking, how can we get a list of email addresses based on the list of team managers? They want to send an automatic email to all of the managers of teams, or maybe just all of the managers for a single team. Well, we're going to go over how we can actually do that. And to make that work, we're actually going to be doing a little bit of SQL, trickery. And where was this answer? Here it was. And to do that, we're going to be making use of actually a fairly new SQL function, which is string aggregate, or to abbreviate it, string underscore agg, A-G-G. So what this does is this new function in Microsoft SQL Server, I think 2017, because they explicitly wrote 2017 here and said, starting with the next version of SQL Server, we could finally concatenate across rows without having to resort to any variable or XML witchery. And you can see how easy this is. This is a select statement. It's exactly as long as any other select statement, but there's a new function that returns select this column and concatenate it with this value, and that returns a single column with all of the values. So that's pretty cool. And here's what this does. I've got an example of this just so that we can see what we're going to be doing when we build this map today. And if you're here just for the SQL trick, then you can stop watching after the next 45 seconds. But here's what we're doing. We're selecting the string aggregate of full name and then concatenating it with a comma and a space from user info. So if I wanted to get a list of all of the names of users in my system, here we go. And we execute this, and my result is Andrew Sims, Bruce Robertson, Cherwell Admin, Cherwell Web Forms, Christine Day. That's it. That's all we need. That gives me a concatenation of everything in that table for that column, which is great. This is going to be a great function for SQL subqueries, and you'll probably see me use this in a couple of maps, and you'll know when I do because the map will say this uses SQL and it requires SQL Server 2017. But this is great. I like this. This is a great new feature that I stumbled upon, and we're going to put this to use in a new map for sending automated emails to team managers. So let's get down to it. What I want to do is, the very first thing that I want to do is I want to be able to tie a list of email addresses to the team managers and get a list of team managers per team with their emails. And then the second thing I want to be able to do is get a list of all of the email addresses for that team from that list of team managers. And then finally, just get a list of, here's a list of all the email addresses of all the teams in the system. And we're going to be using this handy feature the entire time. So let's start with tying together a team manager's view. To do this, I'm going to create a new editor here. To do this, we're going to be looking at the Trebuchet team member table. Now, if you haven't worked in your database a lot, I'll let you know there's a ton of tables that say Trebuchet and then something else. These are your system tables in your database. Every one of these basically holds metadata about your system. Everything that doesn't say Trebuchet in it is a table that's just content in your system. Anything other than this could be deleted without having terrible repercussions. You'd have terrible repercussions that you could lose, data and processes. But this set of tables right here is essentially everything that's core to your system that's not content. Like Trebuchet user log, that's your audit history. Trebuchet stored values, reports, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, that's not the focus of this video. We're going to look at Trebuchet team member. Now this table right here, I've been using Toad lately, and I was expecting a context menu item for select top 1000 records, and it's not there. That's alright. I don't like that function anyways. So here's our Trebuchet team member table. And when we look at it, there's a rec ID, there's last mod data, blah, blah, blah. There's a timestamp. This right here, team def ID, user bizob rec ID, user bizob type ID, and team manager or not. These are the 4 columns that we care about here. Team def ID matches up to the, I want to say team ID column on the team info table. User bizob rec ID matches up to either a customer rec ID or a user rec ID, user info. And then user bizob type ID matches up to either the type ID of your customer group business object identifying which member type is being selected, or this is the user info business object ID, so the ID that actually identifies that business object. And then finally, team manager is whether or not that user that is a member of that team is a manager of the team. Now, with all that said, we're going to be querying this table, and the things that we care about from this table are essentially, actually, we don't care about anything that's on this table right here. We're not going to include any of these columns, but we are going to be using one of them as a filter. So team MGR needs to equal, oh God, is this I think this is 1, right? Boolean, right? Yeah, there we go. I was gonna type out true. I've worked with Visual Basic a lot, and in Visual Basic you just type out true, and I can always forget in SQL it's just 1 or 0. Anyways, so here we've got select from Trebuchet team member where team manager is 1. That's great. We're gonna add a join. So we need to, I don't remember if the join comes before or after the where clause. I'm gonna say before. I might find out I'm wrong. Left join. We're going to be working with user info. UI on UI dot rec ID equals. Oh, you know what? That's funny. It's just immediately recommending things for me here. That's anyways, equals user bizob rec ID. Fantastic. I like that autocomplete. I gotta say, guys, I really like Toad. I've been getting into it recently. Alright, so that's our left join. And here we are going to select UI.fullname. And then we don't need everything else. We'll go with UI.email because why not? And then we'll test it out. And here we have 2 users that don't exist. Oh, a lot more than 2 users that don't exist. These are our customer records that aren't actually getting matched. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to filter those out. To do that, I actually need to get the business object ID of the user info table so that I can use it as a filter in my SQL query. I just realized this video is already 8 minutes long. This is definitely going to qualify for our Cherwell working sessions playlist, where you get all of your 30-minute, YouTube videos, 30-minute plus. Sorry, I didn't sleep much yesterday, so I'm casually forgetting what I'm actually going to do. Here we go. Business object ID. Back out of our blueprint. And where team manager equals 1 and user bizob type ID equals this. Oh, I put a comma. I meant and. Alright, so this is a user that doesn't exist. That's fine. The rest of those are customer records that got filtered out. So here we go. Now, you'll notice we're missing a little data here because our data looks wrong. We've got Gina Mera in there twice, Claire Wu's in there twice. That's not supposed to be there, or is it? This is our team membership table. So this is a link, it's a join table between user info and team info, which means we need another left join to team info. And this one I think is called team ID. Hang on a second. All right, team ID equals trebuchet team member dot team def ID. All right, now we should be able to get team name. Oh, it's just name. I'm wrong. It's not on TTM. It's ti.name. This was here. Ta-da! Team name. We're going to give this an alias. And we're going to move it. No, actually, this is fine. Order of our columns doesn't matter that much. So here we go. We've got Sawyer Watson is a member of first level support. Andrews, second level support. Claire is a member of third level support and knowledge. Gina's on IT management and CAB. Bruce is a member of reporting. And our missing guy is on the SIAM team. He's just that super secret. So here we've got our list of email addresses for our team managers. And you know what? This is, I'm just going to write this down for myself that this is going to become a map. We'll give you guys a map for your Trebuchet team members. And I will, just give me one moment, I'm going to pause this and just write that down. Alright, so I went and paused my video there and wrote down that I definitely want to explore that and create a map out of that. And then I thought, we can just do that. We can do that right now. We're going to create ourselves. Oh, and I got my speakers on. You can hear in the background my speakers are running because when I have an idea about a map, I email it to myself. So this is 9.3.0. I don't want to create my maps on version 9.3.0 because then nobody will be able to use them. I'm going to create a SQL view. This is going to be a database server object, and we're just going to take this query and we're going to create a new view, v_team managers with emails. This is a view. SQL to drop is only going to run when the view changes. Create view as this. We need a rec ID. If we're going to use this as a business object, we need some kind of unique ID. In this case, Trebuchet team member is a join table. It's a join table with its own rec ID, which means it's never duplicated, which means we can add on ttm.recid. And that will always be a unique value. Sometimes, I don't think I made a video on this one yet or commented on it in a video, but I create a lot of SQL views, and something that I run into issues with is I'll create a view that has 3 columns like this that are seemingly fine, and then I go to expose them as a business object and I realize I need a unique ID. And especially if I'm joining two tables together that don't have a unique ID, that are just kind of being matched together, I end up having to create one on the fly by joining together rec IDs for the 2 tables, and the unique one's just a concatenation of the match. Sometimes it doesn't work and it's messy, and oh my gosh. I'll comment on that in a second, but yeah, here, this is a great candidate for our unique ID for this business object, so I'll just copy this out again, and we will just select everything up to here, replace it, click OK, close, publish. We don't need to save a blueprint. Really, I don't need to scan either. What am I? Uncheck all of the boxes. It's a SQL view. If it's a problem, it won't let me publish it. Okay, so now we have our view. Oh, I almost... So, oh, you can't see it at the bottom of the screen. I'm actually running this virtual machine inside of VirtualBox, and I like VirtualBox. I've used HyperV. I don't necessarily like HyperV. It's alright. I run into issues administrating the network end of HyperV, whereas VirtualBox just kind of works. I like it. The UI is nice. Anyways, so this is in a VM, and I almost shut it off because I went to click on one of my application window handles at the bottom, and the hypervisor just shot up, and the X went right in front of my mouse. Anyways, we're going to create a new external business object. We're going to link to data in real time. We're going to use our mapped Cherwell system definition, which is the same across all of our maps. We put a good amount of effort into making sure that if you create an external connection into your system, you can, repeatedly rely on that one. And what did I name? What did we name our view? I don't see it. I'm in the wrong system. I've got two different admin windows up. I'm going to close the one that I'm not using. Sorry. So we're going to link to this data. We make a fair amount of effort to make sure that if we put out many different maps, that you get the same connection in each of them, so you don't have to recreate the same connection 5 times, because I know that can get annoying. Data is read-only. It's definitely not getting updated from here. Alright, team managers with emails. And then here we should be good. I could include the user info rec ID and the team rec ID or team def ID on this view and just give you relationships, but we don't need to do that right now. This is just here for now. Alright, full name, team name, email. And I'll push that out to a map later once we've added it to a map and stuff. But now we've got a lookup table. Hit cancel on this real quick. I'm going to go to this table and we're going to make our email field here. We're going to use holds, email address, boom. And now we're going to add this to, I can't put it in the contact manager because it's not the right thing. There we go. Don't need it in search manager. Boom. That way, if we're trying to send an email, this will at least show up and you can pick your team managers out of there. I'm going to give it a different name though, because users should have to see this. Boom. Alright. I keep scanning my blueprint and then not publishing. At least I scanned it. What is this? But we need a form. Why do we need a form? Nobody's looking at the form for this thing. It's crazy. We don't use forms. Alright. Blueprint published, scanned without an issue. I'm going to reload my defs. Always reload defs. And then as soon as that's done, we're going to go into the file menu. We're going to click send email. When we do that, we should be able to pick. You'll get a very, very simple demo. I am doing 2 videos at once, technically. You'll get a very simple, oh, it's not here. Where would I get the contact manager? It's under 2. I was expecting this to show up instead of email message. Okay, so it's here. It should be here. It's not. So there's customer, customer internal, user info. It's not teams. It's definitely not teams. And then work groups. Why isn't this showing up? So we went and we marked that this business object should show up. I might have to check the documentation on this one. That this should show up. Contact manager. Oh no. It didn't mean this contact manager, did it? It did! I meant for it to show up in the email thing. Oh, email address book, not contact manager. You can tell just how infrequently I use that feature. I do not think in my entire life I've added a business object to the email address book. It just, maybe once, I don't. Doesn't happen frequently. I refer to the email address book as the contact manager. Okay. Now that that's sorted, what? Oh, it's a public ID field. That's a display name. Okay. Okay. That's a good question. What should the display name be here? Probably this one. Probably this one. So we'll give this guy a full name. The issue with that is that the full name is not going to be unique. I mean, it shouldn't have to be, but, you know, I guess with the grid, it should be fine. You know, you'll still be able to distinguish, because it loads a grid. It definitely loads a grid. I'm sure that's the administrator-defined grid, even. So now if we reload diffs again, go to Customer and Contact Manager, we shouldn't see our Cherwell Teams option. Hey, we don't. And if we go to Send Email, we hit 2. Oh no, it put Cherwell Team Managers first. It made it the first thing on the list. We're gonna have to take the word Cherwell out, because that appears to be sorted alphabetical. Or maybe we'll just put Cherwell at the end. And I'm not scanning this one. This is... Oops. I don't need a blueprint either. This is a verified good blueprint. This isn't going to cause any problems. Reload again. Alright, send email. I really like that drop down there. I don't know why I keep going to it. Okay. Team managers in Cherwell. It's not the very first default option. That's good. You know, this window is a lot smaller than I expected. Oh, there we go. So if you do something like this and you notice your columns are just too big, there's actually a little bit of a fix, and it's not just double clicking on them here. This is just me being lazy when I'm editing my grid and not realizing that there's a significant bug with how Cherwell handles these grids. When you add something to the grid, and I call this a bug, it's really not. This is designed to be this way, but the issue is it says width is based on field. Either the width is based on the total size of the field, or it's just thrown it out there with a very, very large amount of space. I don't know. When you manually resize this, it sets a pixel width on this thing, which is much more reasonable. Although I consider it a bug because I don't think anyone expects those columns to end up that large. Every grid I ever end up designing, and actually I don't frequently have to create grids. It's only when I work on brand new business objects like views in SQL, which I do, you know, sometimes, but it's not an everyday thing. It's more like an every other day thing. Alright, so what I was saying is, you know, it's not a bug, but I consider it a bug. I would say almost any person around is probably gonna end up doing this when they add stuff to their grid until they break down and just chuck their workstation across the room and finally set it a certain pixel width. Anyways, so we're gonna add Andrew Sims, Bruce Robertson, Claire Wu, and this is how we can get our team managers into the email address book. That's really cool. And if you needed to, and you're creating an automated email now, so let's say I'm going to create a one-step that sends an email. Really easily, you can now, this is how cool this is. I never use this feature in the one-step editor because why would I? But this is actually pretty cool. You can open up the address book from here. This means with this new map I'm going to put out, just this part with the team managers in it, if you need to get those managers into, you know, the email editor and it's static, you can do that. I don't know how useful that's going to be for you because you can't get to this from an expression, and every single email address I write out looks like a custom expression like this, and you can't get to the address bar from this drop down. I'm gonna go add that as a enhancement request right now. Let me pause the video. Okay, that part's done. Now to the rest of our video and map making process. So right now we have a SQL view that returns us a list of team manager email addresses. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a field on the team info table that returns, let's see, like we're going to create a field. I don't know if I can do it on the team info table either, which is unfortunate. We're going to create a SQL view that returns all of the email addresses for a given team. And this is going to give you, a concatenated list of all of the team email addresses. So if you needed to email all of the managers for your team, you'd be able to use this second SQL view. So here we're going to copy this. And I'm really curious as to whether I should make this as, its own independent thing, or make it require that you download a separate map and have a dependency just for the heck of it. So here's the existing one. The second one that we need is, I have an idea. So here's this thing. And we want select, let's say string underscore aggregate of, here's our, email, comma, and then I think the way we built this out was, that and a space from a subquery. I actually don't know if I've built this right, because I never actually build subqueries. Nope. There's all of that junk. There's no other things here. I'm gonna really quickly. So here's the thing. I'm not perfect with SQL. So occasionally I have to Google things. Alright, so select this from that. Oh, I needed an alias, didn't I? Okay, that's the annoying thing about SQL, I would say. No? Invalid column name. Where did I get... Oh. I think it thinks that this is this supposed to be single quotes? That's supposed to be single quotes. This is the other thing about SQL that occasionally bothers me, is I like double quotes and SQL likes single quotes. Okay, so here we go. Here's all of the email addresses for a given. Here's all of the email addresses for all of the team managers. And what we're going to do here is we're going to take this query right here. Hang on. And we're going to make this happen for every team ID, or for every team in the list. And it's going to filter for that team on the list. So what we're going to do is we're going to select, I don't know, name from the team info table, from the team info table. We're going to select the name, and then I guess this as all of our emails. And then what we need to do is we need to, you know what? From team info ti, and this is going to be ti.name. This is ti2 actually, because I just realized we used ti. Here's ti2.name, and with that here we are going to add a condition, and let's see, ti dot team ID equals, wait a minute, Go back. That's really cool. ti.teamid equals. Oh, it didn't do it. Really quickly, what Toad did was it suggested for me. It auto suggested the right value. So ti.teamid equals. There it is. Look at that. ti2.teamid. It just kind of knows. That's really cool. Although I think the last time it was up at the top of the list. So that's our filter right there. And then this should show us for each team name, here's the list of manager email addresses for that team. It runs! Okay, here we go. Oh, we have more rows than we should. Why do we have this many rows? Oh, it's because we're not filtering on the ones that don't have emails. Give me a moment. Give me one moment. Where manager email list not equal nothing. Oh, that column exists. What are you talking? It's right there. Hang on, I've got someone at my door. All right, anyways, ti2.manager email list. It still says that this is the wrong column name. It's this one. It's this one right here. I don't understand that. So what we're going to do, actually I don't know exactly how we're going to do this. You know what? It's fine. We'll just leave it this way. We can test it either way. I don't want to screw around and have like another subquery as a column and all that. What we're going to do now is we are going to add some more members to these teams and make them managers so we can test this out. So, you know, Sawyer Watson's a manager of level 1 support. Let's make Josh a manager of level 1 support. Go back into our Toad query here. And when we've got first level support, what we see is, and by the way, the reason I did that was because I realized there's only one manager per team in the out-of-the-box content. When we do that, we see the email or the manager email list here actually gets expanded out, and it has Sawyer Watson at rivertcorp.com, and then a comma, and then Josh Wilson at rivertcorp.com. And so here we get a list of all of our teams and all of their managers' emails. So here, this can become another SQL query. And before I copy it out, I am absolutely going to get the Trebuchet team member value. Or actually, in this case, we're just pulling in one team info record at a time. So we'll just use the team info rec ID. Not the def ID, but the rec ID, so that we have a unique value there. So that's ti2.recid. And we copy this all here. And now here we go into a new blueprint. And we create another database server object. See, the issue is I want to go with my normal naming convention of v underscore and then just the table name, Trebuchet team members or team info. But I also want this to look somewhat presentable in the email address book. I'm conflicted. Team manager. I'm going to call it a distribution list. Boom. Only when view changes. Done. Don't save. We don't need to save our work. Who saves work, really? Uh-oh.
One eternity later.
So we're going to have to create this view within SQL. Create view, v underscore team info email list. Sure, I don't really care. The other thing is, if I look at views on here, alright, it didn't publish it, that's good. As Ta-da! Executed successfully. It works. It works. The amazing part is it works. Okay, so I'm going to ignore all that now. And the other thing is now I have to save this. I have to save this. This is going to be part of our map thing now. Nope, that's not what I'm looking at. That's what I'm looking for. We're going to create a new map folder here. We've got a lot of map folders. We're going to create a new map folder here, and we are going to call it Team, not Tema, Team Manager Emails. Folder name doesn't matter. The name, when it gets onto the map exchange, might be different. Team info email list v underscore done. All right. Now that we're back, and we can create a new external business object now. We'll link to this data. It's our mapped Cherwell system. We will find it all the way at the end. Team info email list. Sure, supporting object. That's fine. Rec ID. Rec ID. Unique ID. Yeah, these values can be used to search. Why not? Whoop. This needs to be team. I'm going to call it team distribution list. We'll give it a description. Alright, show in email address book, manager email list. I'm wondering how that's going to play out when you actually use it, if you use it with many different addresses, because that's going to have commas, and you know the other stuff is not. It's going to put semicolons after it if you put something else in there, which might work, because you know it's not going to put a comma at the end of the list. Anyways, this doesn't need Search Manager. And it's going to have a very, very basic form and grid. Because you're probably not going to be looking directly at this thing. Probably not. Alright. This can be team name. Boom. And this can probably be spaced out. Alright, now that that's done, it should now be a member of our address book. By the way, I made a very brief comment earlier, but I'm just going to definitively say if you were watching this just for the stint on this SQL trick, that was the extent of the video. Is just, hey, there's a string aggregate function and it works very well. I used it for something else like 6 months ago and I completely forgot about it. Alright, so we are going to send an email. And I'm going to try very hard not to click that drop down because I always do that and I don't need to. Team distribution list. There we go. Once again, I need to fix my grid. This is, you know, I spent a couple seconds complaining about this, but the reason why, it's not just because I'm a jerk, it's because this happens every time I create something with a grid. And I don't believe I should have to. There should be a setting for it to just say, set a specific width on this and don't do this junk. Alright, we're going to reload defs because it's not finished until it looks nice. I accidentally clicked it again. Every time. It's because it's in exactly the same place there as this is in here. So it's just drop down. All right, team managers, that's the old view we created. Here's team distribution list. I think I customized this list a little earlier and it did the thing. Okay, so first level support, Sawyer Watson, comma, Josh Wilson. Cool. What if we add on Gina Mira? So we got Sawyer Watson, comma, Josh, semicolon, Gina, semicolon, Claire. That's interesting. Does it send?
A few moments later.
Yeah, this email's not set up on this system, and I'm not going to set it up. So that's pretty much the end of that. Like, the rest of the work here is just, I'm going to package this up into a map. I'm going to, write up an explanation for why you're manually going to end up creating this SQL view here, because I can publish it on 9.3. I can't publish it on 9.1. I don't know why. It just doesn't think that SQL is valid. And yeah, you'll see this on the Exchange sometime soon. And you'll notice we created, let me go on to YouTube. We created a new playlist on our YouTube channel. And I had better blur this part out so you don't see all my subscriptions on YouTube. So we created a playlist on YouTube. And that playlist, you can see, let me get to my video manager page. We created a new playlist called SQL Tips and Tricks. This is going to show up, and this is going to be the first video in it. It's going to get added. This video will be added to that playlist and our Cherwell and our Cherwell working sessions playlist. And we're gonna try to put some more SQL stuff in here. And the reason for that is, working with Cherwell, after your first year with Cherwell, I think you end up in SQL a lot as you try to build things and you realize that you can't accomplish everything within the tool, or there's a lot of things that you can add on through SQL. So, we're going to start working on getting some content on here for SQL Server in Cherwell so that you guys can play around, maybe, figure out what some of these things are in Cherwell and, learn something. So that's the end of our video. If you'd like to see more videos like this one, feel free to let us know. You can subscribe to our channel using that, big red subscribe button. You can leave comments in the comment section below. You can email us. You can go to our website. It's defeditsoftware.com. You could buy our maps. They're on the Map Exchange. Thanks.